Excuse me. Excuse me. Do you know why we pulled you over today? Exactly. It's because you're not subscribed. So you better fix that right now, or we're gonna have to take you in. M1 Mac sales saw shipments grow 11% ahead of new MacBook Pro models. There you go. M1 Mac sales were credited with an 11% year-on-year increase to Mac shipments in the third quarter of the year in a new report. We're just talking about the M1 Mac sales. That's absolutely insane. I'm not gonna lie with you. That is, I think that's mental. I think that's mental. I see we don't have music. I understand. Okay. Sorry. This is why I need two chats open, because some chats will point this out, other chats won't. Thanks for pointing that out, chatter. The report does, however, warn that component shortages are a continuing challenge, and that is just, yeah, it's mental. Especially if you look at the M1 Pro and the M1 Max. Jesus Christ. I have been trying to get a Mac like earlier in so I can just review it and show it to you guys, but it's mental. It's literally mental. Counterpoint estimates 9.3% growth in the PC market as a whole during Q3, with Apple ahead of the curve with 11% growth. So the total PC growth was 9.3%, and on scale, Apple grew faster than that. That's amazing. Global PC shipments marked their 6th consecutive year-over-year growth in Q3 2021. At 84.2 million units. That's insane. 11% of that? That's insane. I don't know if that's 11% over this. I don't know. Anyways, this came despite the ongoing component shortages and other supply constraints. However, the 9.3 year-over-year growth during the quarter implied decelerating PC shipment momentum after 4 consecutive quarters of double-digit year-on-year growth since Q3 2020. Insane. In addition, most OEMs and ODMs are not seeing any shrinking gap between orders demand, and shipment supply. Apple shipments grew 11% year-on-year in the third quarter of 2021. Riding on the replacement demand for the M1 Mac. Yeah, so that's obviously a super cycle, right? They're in a super cycle. A lot of people are noticing that they can now have the power of, let's say, an i9 MacBook in a MacBook Pro 13-inch. And they will probably soon notice that the Mac Pro is performance that you can get in the MacBook Pro, right? So that is absolutely insane. I noticed you guys were talking about the MacBook Pro, about the Mac Pro. Mac Pro Sag, yeah, that is true. It is very Sag, especially like Access Denied is pointing out, more like people who bought the Mac Pro are Sag. Now, people were literally asking Apple, begging Apple to make a PC-like device, and now they have it, and now you have the constraints of having one. So, yeah, I don't know what you want to hear from me. Here you go. PC demand remained solid during the quarter. Commercial PC demand is gradually heating up, while consumer PC momentum is decelerating. So I bet this has to do with the pandemic, right? A lot of, let's say, businesses were buying laptops for employees, and maybe also workers at home had to buy new equipment to keep, well, on track with all the meetings and whatever. Students, the exact same thing. Interesting. Apple still holds a comparatively modest official 8.7% share of the PC market, though undoubtedly has the highest profit margins. The market leader is Lenovo at 23.9%, ahead of HP at 20.5%, Dell at 18.1%. With Apple in the 4th place. So I don't feel like that's bad. I'm definitely sure that stuff is going to change with, let's say, these new MacBook Pros that come out, but especially just like, if you look at how fast the low-end quote-unquote low-end chips already are. And if it is true that the next M chip, I don't know how it's going to be called, a logical next step would be M2. If there is going to be an M2 and it is going to be based on the A15, like the M1 was based on the A14, right? That's something that is commonly known now. You will already have a lot of performance increase just by basing that chip on the new A15. If you look at the GPU gains, if you look at the CPU gains are obviously 17%, or a little bit up. Just not too much, right? But if you look at the GPU gains, that is absolutely insane. And if the M2, right, is going to be the more efficiency-like chip, with an increase in graphical performance like that, it is definitely going to be a very good deal. Now, this is obviously speculation. I don't know, it's not based on anything. But it is a logical next step to bring out a new efficiency chip somewhere. Maybe next year, the year after that, I don't know. Could take their time. But that would mean that you have an even more powerful efficiency chip for devices that are literally not that expensive. I'm not sure if they're going to do a redesign for the devices that are going to contain this new M chip. If they don't, probably they can put the price down as low as it is now. Maybe with a slight redesign it might get a little bit more expensive. Nobody knows if there is going to be a redesign. But you know what I'm getting at. I feel like that is going to eat into especially like people like this. Because for like, look at the deal you can make. If you get a computer with an i5 from either Lenovo, HP, or Dell, it's just not going to perform well. You probably want to either go with a minimum of an i7, especially if we want to play games on the side or do anything on the side, right? And I'm not sure what games you play, but if you do video editing on the side, if you do work on the side, if you have a hobby that contains creative work, an M1 or a potential new M chip is just going to help you way more than an i5 chip. Now, an i7 chip could help you, right? Maybe enough for a lot of hobbyists. It could be enough. But for that same price, you can get an M1 or the next generation M chip in like a year or two. It is going to blow that chip out of the water, right? And a lot of people are saying this. This is literally, even Linus Tech Tips is saying this. So what I'm trying to get at is, I don't feel like Apple is going to be on the fourth place for a really long time. I think in about 2, 3, 4 years, we're going to see Apple sit in between HP and Dell. And a few years later, I feel like they're going to sit in between Lenovo and HP. Now, I'm not sure if Apple is going to get in front of Lenovo anytime soon, or whatever company that's going to be in that place. Because Windows is just this global standard that a lot of people love, right? A lot of people like, and they have a lot of trust in Lenovo, right? These ThinkPads that are amazing, and they are amazing. But I would say it would not be as much of a difference like it is right now, right? Now it's 23.9% versus, was it 8.7? I can't find the number that was in here before. Am I blind? Oh, here you go. It's just in the next sentence here. Sentence above, yeah. 8.7%. I feel like that is more going to be like, yeah, like 20% for Apple, 23% for like a Lenovo or whatever is going to be in front of them. Just because Apple has this, I don't know, a lot of people have this feeling with Apple that they would never buy it because Apple, right? So you will always have some company that is in front of it. It's just like the same with Android, right? You have more Android devices than iOS devices, and that's just always going to be like that because, well, people just like that for some reason. So, and they should, right? It's their thing. It's amazing. It's fine. but it's just, no, it's not for me, but it's great. It's a great competitor. It's great to have them as a competitor. But what you will see is that Apple is one manufacturer. They won't be... It is not easy to just compete with all manufacturers around you, because everyone is doing different things, and some things are just stuff that people are used to. ThinkPads, man, the EBM times, insane, really great. And Lenovo, I feel like bought that, at least that part of IBM, so it's great. They're doing a great job. It's just not for me. Even ahead of the latest MacBook Pro launch, one analyst estimates that almost a third of owners would upgrade. Holy flippin' shit. The proprietary processor is the foundational part of this MacBook, and ultimately, we believe we will be a game changer that will convert 30% plus of current MacBook users to upgrade over the next year, catalyzing growth on the hardware segment. I mean, 30%, I feel like 30% is a bit low, especially if you're going to see this new M chip that is probably going to be based on the A15. That's absolutely insane. Again, it's a prediction, but it's not a leak. It's not like I have any information or whatever. It's not based on any information. It's just logical thinking. And that's going to be an insane step ahead. I feel like people are not going to be able to say, well, I'm just going to ignore this. I'm just going to buy it, whatever one Surface device, right? That's also 1,300 euros or dollars. Same price as a MacBook Pro with an M whatever. That's not going to work. People are going to prefer performance over an x86 chip that's just going to throttle the whole device down. However, component shortages are likely to limit sales. In the third quarter of 2021, the global PC supply chain remained constrained due to component shortages related to power management IC, radio frequency, audio codec, and others. I'm not sure what power management IC is, but fine. We believe there is no solution to this demand-supply mismatch till mid-2022. Jesus Christ. ODMs are still pulling in chips inventory to tackle any downside risks. I mean, Apple has the supply chain master at work. That is just going to, if you ask me, that is obviously Tim Cook, and I feel like they have a new master of supply chain actually. Anyways, whoever is doing it now is probably doing a great job, because, well, otherwise we wouldn't have any MacBooks right now. But yeah, Apple has been a master of supply chain and inventory spending, and they order things years in advance just to be sure. So obviously with a capital like that, it's easier to do that. But it is definitely a great thing to have people like that, minds like that on board, especially in these times, right? So yeah, I'm not sure. But anyways, ODMs are still pulling in chip inventories to tackle any downside risk besides unstable global logistics and manufacturing site shutdowns in Southeast Asia and China, and more uncertainties to the PC supplies. I mean, this is very true, and I feel like for the most part, we are going to be in for a bumpy ride, and obviously we have been on this bumpy ride for a really long time. If this ends in mid-2022, I will be very happy, actually. I feel like it's going to take longer, though. I feel like mid-2022 is not a great estimate. I would say the beginning of 2023. So then we will see at least the effects of that solution. So they're saying there will be no solution to this demand-supply mismatch. Which, okay, well, I'm willing to take that, but I would say that we, as a consumer, will only feel that solution that, well, according to these people, is going to be there in mid-2022. We are only going to see the results of that in the beginning of 2023, if you ask me. But I'm not an analyst. I'm just saying that because I feel like that is just, it's just a prediction based on other information that I've seen that we're not going to get into now because we have a lot of other news to get into. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not sure if you guys have any comments on this. 11% is a lot in this market. It is actually. Yeah, as I pointed out, like 11% is insane, especially for a company that is a sole manufacturer of these type of computers, right? So yeah, that's insane to be in the 4th place. That's great. Yes, especially the next gen stuff. Yeah, the next gen stuff. I feel like if we're talking about the same thing, right? The M whatever, and the low power efficiency chips that are going to be cheaper as well in probably cheaper devices. Cheaper. It's not. Apple is never cheap, right? But the more affordable devices, let's call them that way. Yeah, that's going to have a huge impact, especially if you see the performance gains from the A15 in terms of graphical performance over the A14. If it is true that the next M chip is also going to be based on the A15, Intel can pack in their stuff. I think Apple is going to break the market with their new Macs. I feel like, yeah, me too. Maybe even, like, especially, obviously, all the eyes right now are on the Mac Pro. At least in the tech world, right? Everyone wants to know, is Apple going to be able to break Xeon, the god of thunder, or whatever, the god of multi-threaded, how do you call it? Multi-threaded performance. And obviously Threadripper, right? Threadripper is obviously an insane brand as well, especially in that market. So yeah, are they going to be able to knock Xeon off the throne? Are they going to be able to kick Threadripper off the throne? That is obviously what the tech community is looking at. But I feel like the most gains in terms of market share will come from these lower like efficiency chips, right? So that's all I can say about that. Anyways, there's just let's do one more topic